Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Of LSU and USC, unfortunately, after last night's disappointing opener out in the desert. Look, I said leading up to the game all week that I thought it was going to come down to two things. I thought it was going to come down to how well USC threw it and how well LSU ran it. And when the dust settled, USC had rolled up 378 passing yards, but more importantly, they were able to throw it when they needed to. Late in the game, after LSU had taken a lead, they went right down the field in 3 plays for a touchdown, and then on the final and decisive drive, they hit some big plays through the air and ultimately finished it off on the ground. But they threw it with a lot of success, and they made some huge plays through the air. The talent at wide receiver was obvious for them. It wasn't just Zachariah Branch, who LSU did a pretty good job on. It was the whole cast of characters for Miller Moss, and Southern Cal threw it really well. That's one part of the equation. The second is how well did LSU run it? And quite frankly, the running game stunk. Like, you can look at the statistics and go, oh, well, they ran it for 117 yards. That's pretty good. And that tells part of the story. But you heard Will Campbell last week. You heard him say, we're not there to go to Caesar's Palace. We're there to get in a fist fight. You heard him say, we're going to run the ball. We're not trying to hide that. We're going to make sure that we run the football. And LSU ran the football effectively for about a minute and a half of real time. In that minute and a half of real time, John Emery busted loose for one big play, and then he had a 10-yarder 2 plays later. That was 49 yards of LSU's running game, and it looked like at that point, with Emery's fresh legs in the game, you're going, okay, this is what I thought I was going to see. LSU's going to take control from this point in the middle of the third quarter and run the ball down USC's throat like everyone else has done for 2 years. Washington did it. Arizona did it. Cal did. Everybody has run it right down USC's throat. LSU's going to lean on them and do that in this game. Well, that never happened. You take those 2 runs away, which were well blocked and well executed and looked very effective. But if you take those 2 away, LSU's tailbacks ran the ball 23 times for 63 yards. That is 2.7 yards per carry. Josh Williams averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Not a ton to write home about. Caleb Jackson, huge talent. Guy that's going to break out this year behind the best offensive line in college football. And I'll throw air quotes around that. Caleb Jackson's long run on the night in 6 carries was 4 yards. 15 of the tailback's 25 carries went for 3 or fewer yards. More than half. Only 4 times did they get 8 or more. They could not get chunk plays. They could not create a balance and a rhythm in the running game. They couldn't be consistent. They couldn't lean on USC. It was completely and totally ineffective the majority of the night. And when you absolutely had to have the running game, in basically 2 instances, it did not show up. You had to have the running game like everyone does in the red zone. And LSU could not run the ball in the red zone. And then what I thought was maybe the most pivotal play of the game was LSU with a 3-point lead, just under 7.5 minutes to go in the game. You've got 2nd and 15. You hit Kamorian Pimpton for a 14-yard gain. You've got an opportunity to go down there, take a 2-score lead, and put a stranglehold on this game. And you've got a 3rd and 1, and you rush to the line of scrimmage, and they hand it to Emery. Pimpton misses a block, and he gets leveled in the backfield. And you've got a punt. And you punted, and they came right down the field in 3 plays and took the lead. But you had a chance to take the lead behind that running game, and you couldn't execute the short yardage run. There are a lot of reasons why a running game can fail. You can fail to block it. A back can fail to see the lane or execute the cut. A defensive player can make a really good play. A defensive coordinator can stack the box. There are plenty of reasons why an individual running play doesn't work. And so you can't really boil everything down to one play. But when I look at this game and LSU's output from the running backs, and I go back to the same freaking 3 games that I have talked about for a month on this radio program. Last year, Florida State, Alabama, and A&M could not run the football with the running backs. So this is not one play. This is not one coordinator. This is not one matchup. This is a sample size that is representative enough for me to come here and tell you this offensive line is overhyped. They are exceptional in pass protection. Will Campbell has given up 2 sacks in 2 years. Emory Jones is a great pass protector. They kept Jaden Daniels upright all of last year. He won the Heisman Trophy. They kept Garrett Nussmeier upright last night. They didn't allow a sack. They are excellent in pass protection. They are not good in running the football. They were not good last year. I thought entering the season, I'm going, okay, last year they didn't have to be that good at it because you had Superman back there in the backfield and he was going to come out of the phone booth and he was going to show up and save the day. He would take it 85 yards against Florida and then weave through for another 50-yard touchdown. It didn't really matter. Well, you knew entering this season that that guy wasn't there, so you were going to get more creative in the run game. You were going to commit to it more, and you were going to lean on that. Well, they had an entire offseason to come up with a game plan, and the output was very pedestrian. We talked all offseason about this offensive line being the backbone of LSU. And guess what? It is not in the run game. They have got significant issues. And you don't want to overreact over one game. This isn't one game. It dates back to last year. It's the same cast of characters. Take one center out, put a new one in there. They don't run block with a ton of physicality. LSU's offensive identity is finesse, and they're good at it. They were good at it last year with all the playmakers we've been talking about, and they threw it all over the yard today. If I would have told you that LSU, in this game, Garrett Nussmeier would complete 78% of his throws, throw for over 300 yards, and not get sacked, you'd go, oh, that's a really good start. You figure LSU will run the ball. LSU's going to score 40 points in that game. Nope, because you were kind of one-dimensional. You popped 2 good runs with Emory. Everything else, not real good on the ground. And that was a concern of mine entering the game, and it played out that way on the field. Yes, Southern Cal deserves credit for a new defense and a new defensive coordinator that played more physically, and they obviously instituted some of the principles that made UCLA such a good run defense last year. But make no mistake, there are a lot of the same guys out there on that defense on the front, not on the back end, but on the front that were there last year, and they could not stop a nosebleed on the ground. Everybody in the Pac-12 ran up and down the field. LSU couldn't establish it. Short passing game? Yeah, sure. Kyron Lacey in the first half? Fantastic. Mason Taylor when they needed it? Yep. It wasn't all a total failure, but I am done sitting here and telling you that LSU's got the most dominant offensive line in the country and they're going to assert their will and they're going to be dumb. No, they're really good at pass protection and they'll keep Garrett Nussmeier upright and he's going to throw for a crap ton of yards. But if you can't run the ball in the red zone and you can't get yards when you need them, you will lose close games. And that's what happened here. The biggest story for me entering this game was how well does USC throw it? They threw it really, really well. Made big plays, did it when they had to. How well does LSU run it? Like crap. And that's the outcome. It's just really, really frustrating if you're an LSU fan to have this happen 5 years in a row. And I feel on one hand so badly for the people that traveled to Las Vegas to have to fly home with that kind of emotion. On the other hand, I'm really jealous because it seems like LSU's fans had a blast up there for 3 days. I was kind of living vicariously through it all. I've got friends up there. My parents are up there. I'm getting videos, seeing pictures. Social media is flooding my feed. People at the pool, people at the steakhouse, people at the game, tailgating. Mandalay Bay was on fire. Got people taking pictures in front of the pregame show and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it seems like LSU absolutely showed out. And there is very little that's more fun than that. The last time I kind of was in that type of environment was Omaha a couple summers ago, and it's just incredible. And obviously that had a much happier ending than this. But man, what a cool thing to fly across the country and be surrounded by that many people in purple and gold. It was an excellent showing from LSU up in Vegas as far as the fan base goes. And unfortunately, you come on back and you're as disappointed as you've been the last 5 years. It was funny. I chuckled last night because I usually give my post-game monologue on the LSU Sports Radio Network. And I give it a lot of thought between the time it goes final and we start. There's about 30 minutes. But now with my LouisianaSports.net responsibilities, I was trying to get a story up and didn't have as much time to go into kind of a monologue. I mean, I had my statistics and I knew what we wanted to talk about, but didn't have that much time. But it just kind of popped in my head like 90 seconds to air. Kind of feels like Groundhog Day. It's the same type deal. And I opened with It's Groundhog Day on the LSU Sports Radio Network. And then I watched Whiskey and Wine when I got home, and Matt opened with It's Groundhog Day. And then I went on Twitter, and Garland Gillen, who's up there for television station in New Orleans, started with It's Groundhog Day for LSU. Everybody kind of feels the same. It's a feeling that we have now felt 5 years in a row, and that seems almost impossible to fathom after what we witnessed from 2002 to 2016. LSU never lost these games. Never. Not one. Not a single one. From the Virginia Tech game in 2002 all the way to the Wisconsin game in Lambeau in 2016, LSU won them all for 14 years, and now it seems like they can't get out of their own way.
We ended the Bama curse in 2019,
yeah,
but we started the opening game curse in 2020.
This opening game thing, man, I mean, not that it's a lot of fun to beat
Nichols.
I mean, Pine Bluff 70-0 like Arkansas did. Like, that's not a lot of fun, and Saturday's not going to be a ton of fun. But it beats the brakes off of this, man. This is just brutal. And guess who's right around the corner? Clemson. And it ain't Clemson from 5 years ago. I get it. But it's on the road, and they're going to have a bunch of 5-stars out there. It's just not a great way to spend a holiday. I'm a little frustrated. Can you sense that?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm frustrated too, but I think, I don't know, man. Obviously we had so much expectations for this game, but at the end of the day, this is 5 years in a row. It's become a trend, and it's something that we probably should have anticipated a little bit.
I will say this. I'll just be full disclosure, cards on the table. I was concerned about LSU's ability to cover, and I said that a lot, and I was quite frankly concerned about LSU's ability to run the ball.
Yeah. I
had done these segments in camp, but I talked myself into last week, like, no, they're going to get physical and they're going to go do it. This is not Bama they're playing. It's Southern Cal. And it's the same, like, it's the trap that I talk about all the time where your optimism naturally cranks up right before that opener.
Yeah.
And I even talk about that. And there's also a piece of me, and this is, again, me laying my cards on the table. There's a piece of me that's like, no one wants to listen to you complain and be negative right before the season opener. Like, no one wants to hear that.
No.
And that played a part in some of the things that I talked about. Like, I'm not too proud to admit that, but there was a concern of that. And I was just, they just could not get a push. I'm sitting there watching the game, and I'm just like, they're just not able to consistently do it. And when they had to have the run game, it just wasn't there. So that's a huge loss there for the Tigers, who fall to 0-1 and will be. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.